understood that a republic form of government would be the most viable form of control because it's a system of law. Republican government is the rule of law. Democrat government is the rule of the masses, right? Which we used to call it tribal rule. They call it mob rule. And so this form of government that we under is a continuation of the Plato Republic form of government, where the written law becomes a catch-all for anybody that they wanted to subjugate. If you knew how many laws was on the books and over here, why do you need legislators legislating 10 months out the year? You know, the laws are too complicated. They're too easy to break. Why are they so easy to break? Because that's the only way they can put you in bondage servitude. Otherwise, you have to be left to your meritorious manumission status of a slave at large, where you are on an honor system of payment and you have to pay using the IRS tax service because you are confirming that you're an imbecile in law and that you do your W-2s and your W-4s and your 1040s and your 1099s so that you can always have a record that you had somebody administering your affairs on your behalf and that you paid diligently to have this done. You don't even know your own value because you're so busy relegating your wealth for you to receive something that they call a, what they call that shit? A coupon. They're giving you coupons and they call it currency in exchange for using your wealth in order to enrich themselves on the international stock exchange. This is why the money about to collapse, because the international stock exchange and the one on Wall Street been bought out. So they don't own that shit no more. So when these banks get done getting indicted on this forgery fraud, this mortgage forgery fraud, then this is going to bring all of the rest of the government to its knees. All this shit is already exposed. The mortgage frauds, the lending and borrowing kind game, it's a usury game. You can buy anything you want in their system, but the system still owns it. That's why you got to register your car, because you telling them you pledging your vehicle to use in service of their rogue entity on your land. So all of these things got us contracting with them in every manner they can think of in order to appear legitimate and override our legitimate status and make us remain perpetually ignorant in law. That's how they work. That's the whole thing is a chess game. If you don't know who you is, you're going to follow whatever they tell you until your own destruction or until you figure out who you are. Right? So it's just how it is. It's the name of the game. It's a dirty game, but somebody playing. Right? So I'm just immune to the bullshit. So when I see it, I call it. Right? So now I'm calling it. This shit need to be over with. This shit is dragging out too long. Bring them motherfucking conspirators, drag their ass out in the open so the people can see the dirty players for the dirt they did. Stop trying to let these motherfuckers use the media control to cover that shit up. Shut that shit down. That's what I say. And let Larry talk. Put the chiefs on the land. Restore the matriarchy. Protect the children. Make the future. I'm out.
For my invite list. Here we go. So while I do my invites, I'm gonna talk about kind of a little bit what this is about. This video, I wanted to talk about fallen angels, Anunnaki, gods in our midst, and all that kind of stuff. I'm just gonna broad brushstroke over a lot of it because I don't want to get any one of them can turn into a lengthy dialogue when you understand what you seeing. I'm getting these invites in, so I'm gonna I'm just gonna scroll through and do some more invites. All right, I'm gonna do a couple more. I'm just doing these invites random because of the setup. So I don't even know who I'm inviting really. I know I'm waiting on okay. So we heard about fallen angels marrying humans, and they're talking about biblical chapters, Genesis 6. Then we heard about the Anunnaki infusing their DNA with the human DNA in order to be able to procreate with them. We also find that in India, you had the Indian pantheon who consorted with humans sexually and reproduced, and it's all throughout the Hindu texts. So somebody asked me to what happened to those fallen angels that had children with humans. Where did they go? So I told her, I said, look in the mirror. So we kind of gonna jump around a little bit. I want to kind of give y'all an idea of what took place to get us in this avatar suit that we in like this. We can do so much with the suit, but we don't know what all of the. It's like you buy a car and you never read the owner's manual. One day you'll bump into somebody that'll jump in your car and turn something on you never knew was there. You had the car almost 10 years. You never knew it was there because you never read the manual. So you have no clue that this function is available on your car, but it's been there the whole time. And you wonder all of the, time, energy, whatever, that it would have saved you, knowing that when you first bought the car, but you never read the manual. But there's functions that your car can do. Well, in this case, we're making reference to the body as the car. There's things your car can do that you are unaware of. You're unaware of it because you don't know how to read your owner's manual. It's in a foreign language. We call this owner's manual the genome. So we got specialists trained to read the genome. And there's also another space between spaces where we can write programs for our physical form, our mind. We can write a program for it and install it like an app. And once we install it, it'll take on a mind of its own and do exactly what you programmed it to do. So we're going to go into a little bit of understanding the genome how to program the psyche, how to install apps in your own mind the same way you do your iPhone or your iPad or your Google Chromebook or whatever the case may be. You have apps that you write. They call them sigils. The sigil apps are ideas condensed into a geometric form, the same as creation was on a geometric form. You remember that creation is geometric and the apps are geometric. What's the parallel there? Well, you have two creative processes, and both is heavily contingent upon the geometry. How do you make the geometry is the question. So when we deal with the sigil part, we will go into a little bit of the sigil magic. But that's actually installing an app in the brain, and you can write them for other people too. And they call them logos when you do that. If you put it out in the public domain, it's called a logo, but it does the same thing that the sigil do in the psyche. Automatically tells them how to relate when they see the symbol. So then from there, I want to touch on some judicial issues, political prisoners that don't even know they're political prisoners, and people who should be being compensated for being prosecuted by the system that committed the crime that they were accused of committing. Now, in that aspect will be toward the end of the video, because by then I'll be revved up to talk about political prisoners and the fraud of the system that we call the legal system. But we're going to start off. So the question came out, what happened to those fallen angels or the angels that married the humans? What happened to them? Well, they look like us. And they walking around with you every day. You got some of them that have an attitude problem about being here. Some of them don't like the punishment aspect where they have to live in poverty. They can't have families, things like that. So you have some of them that you think is the wino on the corner, but he's trying to drown it out with the alcohol so he don't have to listen to his ancestors screaming in his ear, I told your dumb ass not to do that stupid ass shit your dumb ass did, but you done that dumb ass shit. You don't want to hear that. See, so you have to face that, and you have to accept your transgression in order to release it. So as long as you running from it, it's going to chase you down like a fucking evil, omnipresent force of misfortune, folly and foolishness every step of the way. Every time you try to do the right thing, something wrong gonna happen because you don't want to accept responsibility for your part. We're past that now. At this point, anybody that don't want to accept responsibility for their part, well, they get to be food for the other guys because they like to eat y'all, because they like the taste of the human flesh, just like the Pope and the Queen, well, her dead ass. I can't believe they still got y'all thinking that lady living over there. She been dead damn near 7 months. They gonna parade an imposter queen around over there, tricking them people like that lady still. They probably mummifying her, what they need to be doing, make her a relic. Okay, so these books, the one called The Scroll of Adafa, or the Book of Enoch. And then you have one called the Book of Thoth. And you also have a couple of the biblical books, Revelations and Daniel, that gets into what happened to these angelic beings that they said had men of renown, men of valor from cohabiting with human women. Now, before we get all off into this, the DNA, the DNA is very powerful as a holographic light encoded by process of binary numerology. It's a organic crystal. You call it a DNA crystal. Or on the helix is filled with DNA crystals, and they call them they got name letters for them, G, H, T, T, like that. That's how you read DNA. You don't read the DNA in the numbers of the binary code because you need the alphabet. The alphabet separates the groupings of the number. So you have a G that might start off 10100. Then you have a T that might start off with the same thing, but they cause two different things to happen in the body. So because the number is the same, but the letter is different, that means that they do two different entirely functions. And you can use that over and over again. If you have enough letters, you can keep that binary code at a specific length, a set of numbers, 1010010110, set of numbers that will translate into that function according to how it's encoded. Now, the binary code is the code. And once you understand how that programs one portion of one segment of one section of one part of a sliver of DNA, and it's just that simple. It's a lot of information on your DNA. If we look in science now, you see that they're putting terabyte data on what they call microprocessors the size of a grain of sand or smaller. If they can put a terabyte on there, and with our limited knowledge, imagine what we would be able to do with that same size nanotech in 1,000 or 10,000 years, the same piece. How much information could you encode on there once your development of your sciences is another 1,000 to 10,000 years old? You'd be able to probably put 100,000 terabytes on one grain of sand sized particle of organic matter. And so when you're looking at the DNA, you're looking at reading what you are. So then when you go in the pyramids, the writing on the wall say, "Man, know thyself." What do they mean? If you don't know what you are, you can't really control who you are. Once you learn what you are and you can control who you are, you become something different. So when we start to track for the traits, what's the difference between those we consider as men, humans, and those that we consider to be the fallen angels and the gods? If they was able to cohabit and produce offspring together, then that would murky the waters. That would make everything a little confusing, because then you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. You wouldn't know if you was with a angelic being or a human. And that's absolutely the case. You don't know. The crazy part is the ones that's the angelic beings know, but they got to act like they don't know, so they don't look like a damn fool to the ones that don't really know. So the angelic being, they look like us, bad motherfuckers, like one of us watching, one of us in this process is the baddest motherfucker ever born. But I ain't gonna say who it is, but we'll figure it out. It's gonna come to light who the baddest motherfucker ever born was. That's gonna become obvious here soon. So if you don't know from looking at them how to tell the difference between the angelics and the humans, the gods and men, if you don't know how to tell them by looking at them, how the hell do you supposed to know? Abilities. Now, let me show you something. When You go through, you see in the very